It's time for DIY lighting. Stick around, it's going to be a great show. Hi, welcome to SnapShot, the show that's all about taking better photos, taking better video. I'm your host, Denis Rule, and in this episode, we're going to take a look at some very inexpensive lighting, some LED lighting that you can get from your local home improvement center. And we're going to take a look at the Nikon One V3. Great little camera, got to shoot with it for the last week and had an amazing time, got some amazing photographs. I can't wait to share them with you. But before we get into all of that, we've got some viewer mail that I'd like to address. Eric writes, Dennis, about light meters. I've been looking at the Interfit INT410. The Canadian price is $95 on Amazon. Really, the light meter I want is the Sekonic L308DC. But since 80% of my work is events, conferences, and weddings, that $360 is better spent elsewhere. Any thoughts on the INT410? Eric, I'm sorry, I don't know that meter at all. I checked it out on the web. Looks like it's pretty limited in features. My personal suggestion would be to save up your money and buy the Sekonic. Another one that you may want to take a peek at is the Sekonic 358. There's a lot of them out there, about the same price because of volume. And there's a ton of them on sale used that you can get for about $200. And they're going to be very, very good for you. A lot more accurate. If you're doing weddings and conferences, you don't want to be second guessing your exposure. Our next question comes from Abdul. I saw your video today and it was really interesting. I have a Nikon D5100 and I want to try creating some low-key photos. I just want to know, can I get the same quality of photograph with a crop sensor camera? Well, Abdul, the photos that you were looking at were actually taken with a Nikon D7100. So yeah, it's the same size sensor, so you're going to get excellent photos. What's important is the light. If you have good quality light coming into your camera, you're going to get a good photograph. The next thing you need is a good lens because you have to transmit that light from its source, from the image, to the sensor. And finally, the sensor is the last part of the equation. As a matter of fact, in an upcoming segment in this show, we use the Nikon One V3, which is a 1-inch sensor, even smaller, and you're going to be amazed at the quality of light we get from that. But before we get into all of that, let's take a look at the next segment where I went to the local home improvement store and found some really cool lighting. Check it out. So in a recent visit to a home improvement center, I came across this light bulb and I thought this would be very, very cool for photography. It's an LED spotlight and it's got 6 LEDs on the front. It's 850 lumens, so that works out to equivalent to about 100 watts of conventional light. It only draws 13 watts, so it's not going to get very hot and it's not going to draw too much energy, so you save some money there. 5000K daylight balanced. I thought that was really neat, but the coolest part was that it's dimmable. And so for $30, I thought this is a really cool thing to bring home. So I picked up a dimmer as well, and now this just plugs in line. In the studio, I already had this photo can here, and so I just screw that in. Now this will mount on a light stand and gives me adjustment on the direction and height and everything else where I want to place my light. But with the dimmer, I now have control over the light intensity. And for $44, it's a very, very inexpensive lighting solution. And you'll see in an upcoming segment that I get some awesome results with this. Now, before we do that into the studio, let's check out the Nikon One V3. So a few weeks ago, Nikon sent us the Nikon One V3 to test out. And unfortunately, I didn't have time, or we had a very, very busy schedule in the studio, so I didn't have time to record a review before it was time to send it back. But there's a lot of stuff out there on the web. You can check out quite a few websites. Here on YouTube as well, there's some reviews on different things. I did get a chance to take the camera out for 2 days. One day I did a little bit of a tourist walk one afternoon in Ottawa here. Took it to the Parliament buildings, did some outdoor shooting, some indoor shooting. Here you can see some indoor shots taken at 800 ISO. I was using the 10mm pancake lens. 10mm lens on this camera is equivalent to a 27mm on a full frame camera. And very, very cool shots, very little noise. The camera performed very, very well. Took it outside, did some touristy shots out there as well. It didn't freeze up in the low temperatures, and it was actually quite cold. I found the battery life to be excellent. I went out the same afternoon. I went and found some owls a little bit outside of the city here. And I used the FT1 adapter, which allows you to use all of your Nikon full-size lenses. And the lens here is a 70 to 200 millimeter. So a very compact camera all overall. And again, remember that crop factor of 2.7. My 200 millimeter was actually a 540. And there was a ton of photographers there on that day, and they were all using full frame cameras and very, very long lenses. And so here I am with my tiny little camera, and I'm shooting some amazing shots. Now, this is the first time I've gone owling. I didn't know all the angles of this particular field. I was actually pressed for time, but I did want to try out the high-speed focus tracking of this camera, and you can see here that I've got some terrific owl shots with it as well. On the final day that I had the camera, we went into the studio and we shot a segment with the DIY lighting, so I'll invite you to check that out now. Okay, so here's the set. We've got, first of all, in our lighting, we've got the LED lighting in a photographic can, and it's mounted on a light stand. We've got it dimmed to 100%, or the dimmer isn't being used right now, I should say. Over here, we've got a clip-on can, and I've put on a light stand as well, just for convenience, but you could clip that to almost anything at all. And we've got a fluorescent bulb in there. Both of them are roughly 5000 K, so there's a decent color balance happening there. And you can see that there's a lot of spill. So I've got this piece of foil here. It's called Cinefoil, and this one's black. You can buy this at any sound and lighting type store, and it just helps you shape the light. And I've cut them to all kinds of different sizes, but by clipping this on, actually I'm not even going to clip it, I'm just going to pinch it onto the frame, and I'm going to get a little bit more direction of light and keep the light off the background and aimed a little bit more at our actor, which I'm going to bring in a second here. But just by moving that up, you can see right off the bat that now I've got the light. It's a little bit more controlled. It's a bit more shaped. So I'm going to bring in Mikey, our actor. He's going to be standing in front of the microphone. He's going to put on a performance, and we're going to shoot it with the Nikon 1 V3. So I've got my camera. I've set it up in manual mode. I'm using a 32 millimeter f1.2 lens. Let me see the settings here. We're in manual mode. I'm at ISO 160, f2.2, and I'm at 1/80th of a second. I could play with those measurements, but I'm after the limited depth of field. I want to see the shadow, but I don't want to see it super, super crisp. So there we have it. Very hard light, and we'll get Mikey to give us a bit of a performance here. And bring your hand down just, oh, not so much, just maybe more this way a little bit, this way, in towards you. That's it. I like it. Cool shadows. 1, 2, 3. And there you have it. Very simple DIY lighting, and we've got a very dramatic look and very little time. Here's a fun shot you can try at home. It's all DIY. We're going to use a mixture of lighting. We're going to use some video lights, but you could easily use dollar store LED flashlights like I have right here. And this little guy here was, well, it was $3 Canadian, and it came with batteries, so it's kind of a cool little light. So we're going to give that a try. What I've done on the laptop here is I've set up a sheet of paper. Okay, so we're going to take our light and turn it on and aim it into the sheet of paper, and I get this really neat little glow that's going to happen right on Mikey's face here. And so that's going to be our first light. Secondly, I'm going to use this little tiny video light. You can buy these on the internet. I got these at a local camera store. They're really neat. They're rechargeable. They've got lots of power. I've got two of those. I've got one here, and I've got one set here on the chair. And our third light is this one here, and this is a video light, and I've put the CTO gel on it, the orange gel, to give me a color balance of around 3200 Kelvin. And that's just going to give us a little bit of a glow on Mikey's face, and it's going to give the wall a slightly different color. So what we're going to do now is we're going to shut down the studio lights, and we're going to turn on the LED lights one at a time. All right, so it's kind of dark in here right now. What I wanted to do is turn on one light at a time and show you exactly what's going on. So remember, I've got my little LED flashlight here. Mikey, if you wouldn't mind turning that on. and you're going to see right away that we start to get a little bit of a glow on Mike's face. And you can play with this. You don't have to go with the exact same setup that I have here. Next, I'm going to turn on some background light and just get a little bit of a glow onto the wall. And I'm going to step right over here to this little fill light here, and we'll turn that one on and just give Mikey a little bit of a light that way. Maybe just turn it over this way so it's not exactly 100% on his face, because I want this light here to be 100%. I'm going to bring in the laptop a little bit closer just to get a little bit more intensity. And I've stuck another one of these lights right here on the armrest of the chair, and just to give us a little bit of a fill, just to fill in the front of the computer, just so we can see that it is a computer there. And there you have it, some theatrical lighting with LEDs. Now I'll grab my camera, we'll take 2 different types of shots. Okay, so I've got my Nikon 1V3. This time I've got the 18.5mm lens on it. So if you remember from the earlier presentation, that would turn out with a crop factor of 2.7. This gives me equivalent to a 50mm lens. So my camera settings, I've got ISO 400, f2.2, and I'm at 1/30th of a second. I chose to use a monopod here because I'm going to shoot both some video and I'm going to shoot a couple of stills, and the pod is going to help me keep the video a lot more sturdy. So let's start off with a couple of stills. Mikey, I'm going to get you to look in towards the camera here. Actually, we'll just pull back a little bit, get the full frame. Chin down for me just a little bit, looking up at the camera with your eyes. That's cool. 1, 2, 3. We'll just reframe and compose. 1, 2, 3. There you have it. That's a real simple shot, kind of dramatic with the lighting. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shrink my tripod down a little bit, and we'll do a little bit of video, and we're just going to bring that right across, shooting a little bit of video. The tripod helps me keep the scene steady. And there you have it, a little bit of video footage shot with the Nikon camera. And very, very easy lighting. You can do this with flashlights, you can do it with table lamps, you can do it with almost anything. You don't have to have the actual LED video lights that I'm using here. Anything's going to work. In this week's segment of Speedlight Corner, what I've done is I'm using a very simple shoot-through umbrella. This is a 40-inch shoot-through umbrella. You'll see that my flash is set up on the other side. I've got my pocket wizard here. I've got the little dome diffuser on the flash, and I'm just shooting through. I've got Noemi up against a white background, just a simple white paper background. This could be a white wall. It could be some white fabric, anything at all. And you'll notice how close that I'm putting the umbrella right up to Naomi's face here. And that way I've got a very soft light. I'm going to have some light coming across, combing her face. It's going to hit the paper and bounce back and fill in the shadow side and give me a really nice simple shot. So here we go, 1, 2, 3. And we'll do one more, 1, 2, 3. And there you have it, a simple shot, very, very easy to do. Now watch what happens if I just feather the light a little bit and I ask her to come a little bit forward for me. 1, 2, 3. And we take that shot and we do exactly the opposite. We bring her back just ever so slightly. Oh, too much. Come back this way a little bit more. Cool, right there. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And so we've got 3 simple shots. We've got white background and we've got a high key look, very, very soft. Well, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed putting it together. I'd like to thank the models and the crew. Couldn't have done it without you guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss the next episode. You'll get a notice and telling you the show is on the air. And leave us a comment down below. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. We want to know. We want to make the show better for you. One of the questions that I didn't answer earlier on in the show was came from a viewer asking if we were going to do some outdoor stuff. And yes, we are going to do some more outdoor stuff. We're going to take the studio strobes out. We're going to take some speed lights out. We're going to do some natural light stuff as well. As you know, we're shooting in Ottawa, Canada, and it's been really cold here. So we're waiting for the weather to warm up because, frankly, I'm a wuss when it comes to winter. And the cameras freeze up too, so we don't like that very much. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, and that way you'll be able to stay in tune with what's going on behind the scenes at the show. We post there very, very regularly. And don't forget to check out the website, snapshotshow.com. And there's a page on each individual show with the high-res shots and the settings for the camera settings. So make sure you check that out. So remember, get out there, shoot lots, pixels are free, and we'll catch you on the next show. Bye for now.